Okay, today I wanted to go over a neat idea. Um, I wanted to talk about Helm templating, and I wanted to show that you can use Helm templating to deploy cloud resources. In particular, I'm going to be deploying a CloudRun job to the Google Cloud platform. Now, this should work for Azure, should work for AWS. Helm is something that's normally used with Kubernetes, but it can be used with other resources. So I'm going to open up my simple example here. And Helm is going to require a chart. That doesn't matter for this example. It's got garbage in there. It is really two parts. The first part is a template. This is a trivial template. I made it brief to illustrate. See these squiggly parts here? So these are going to get filled with values, okay? So I have a YAML resource here. It's only partially defined, and it has a namespace. I say, hey, get the namespace from a values file, get the task count from a values file, or default to 1, okay? So keep this in my namespace and tasks count. Then the second part to this will be a values file. See, it has some property value pairs in it. It doesn't need to be flat, but that makes this easier. It also has the namespace and it has a task count. Okay, so those are going to get filled when I type Helm template path to chart, and this autocomplete is happening from going through the example earlier. When I say, hey, render, well, first I'm going to render the template without providing, I'm in the wrong location. Okay. If I type Helm template, I get a rendered output from my template and the value, but I didn't provide any values file. So it did the rendering, but it didn't, see how it didn't fill the namespace? So what I can do here is provide a values file, and Helm will take the template. See where the squiggly lines was? Namespace is injected here, okay? The namespace came from this values file. So this will get kind of, you'll see why this is kind of neat in the future when I get to a better example here. So let me get to my second example, a little bit more complicated. For this one, we have multiple values files. Now, you might be in an organization in which there's multiple teams. In my organization, there's like a site reliability engineering team. There's a DevOps team. I'm the DevOps team lead. There's a application developer teams, whatever you want to call them. So you might want to divvy up the values. You might have some values that should be under control of the SREs, and some that are in control of the developer teams. So let's say I have a template. Now this template, this is actual, like, this resource looks like something that'll actually make something in the cloud. This is a job, okay? I don't think it does much but say hello, but it's a job, and it has there's a few things that are needed here, like a namespace is required, the kind is required, a name is required. There's a few things that are required. I think image version is required. This resource looks just like if you went to the cloud and you looked at an actual CloudRun job, the resource looks the same. Okay. So what I'm trying to show here is, let me go back. So that's my template. I have all these values files. Now, you can supply multiple values files to Helm, the Helm template command. And what will happen is, let's say you provide values file 1 and values file 2. If the same key exists in both the files, the second file listed, the key there will take precedence, right? So if you have a some property, some value, some property is defined again, and it has a different value is going to overwrite is going to be in the final rendered output. Okay, so I have a bunch of values files here. They have a bunch of kind of gibberish, I guess, for the most part. But this might be like some organization. Just imagine you have application team needs certain values. They could be stuff like max retries of the job, timeout in seconds, stuff like this. Key value pairs for environment variables, and there's all kinds of stuff you can put in there, right? You could put resource limit. Did I put resource limits in there? You could put resource limits in here, like memory and CPU. This example doesn't templatize it, but you could templatize the CPU, the memory, so on and so forth. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do another example here. I'm going to go to 1B, and I'm going to do Helm template, and we're going to say, hey, apply values.yaml, then apply these other files, apply, because you might have like, when you're dealing with hundreds of applications or thousands of applications, you might have a hierarchical type of approach. You might have a project, you have project-wide values, you have application-specific values, you have application-specific values in the region, right? You might be in multiple regions. You might be in multiple regions, multiple zones. So you can apply all these values files, and in this case, you can, like, we have these SRE values files, and we have the application team values files. They're all going to be rendered in the final output. So let's do the final output. Boom! We get this YAML, and it's nice, and it's going to work. We're going to be able to apply this resource and deploy this CloudRun job, the newest version of this. Okay. So what I'll do here is I'm going to redirect the output to a file. So now I have this YAML inside of a file, and I'm going to actually apply that with the gcloud command, gcloud-run job replace. I say, hey, use this YAML file. I'm going to hit enter. Fingers crossed that this works. Cool. All right. The job has been successfully updated. This job in this region, US Central 1. Since I kind of staged this beforehand, I know it's going to be here. So this YAML was updated here. And so now I have this merged result where I took values from multiple files. And some values were site reliability engineering team, some were from the application team. It's all playing nicely. Everyone's happy, and they get their cloud resource. And this thing can execute and do whatever. So it works. And so this is kind of a nice idea where we can use Helm templating to render templates and divvy up the configurations amongst multiple files, and it doesn't need to be used just with Kubernetes, so it's pretty cool. That's it.